Hi, like the hat. Do you think you could be cool enough to wear a hat like this? Let me tell you a little bit about my hat. I got this hat 20 years ago. I was skiing in Purgatory, Colorado, and I tore my ACL, and that evening, limping to what was a summer golf resort for dinner, I saw and bought this hat. So, between the torn ACL and skiing in Purgatory, I love to say I went to hell to get this hat. I fixed the knee, the torn ACL, the next year, but the hat has been with me ever since. And from the very first day almost, it's been a phenomenon. Getting on the plane, limping at that time, I get a special kind of hello from the stewardess because I've got a turtle on my head. And going to the back of the plane, I always am seated in the back of the plane. 2 or 3 people will say, "Hey, like the hat, man." Now, I'm a kind of friendly, outgoing guy, so I ate it up. It very soon became my signature day off hat. If I was leaving home with my family to go for some kind of a day off, trip, outing, vacation, my daughters would say, "Dad, do you have the turtle hat? If not, go back in the house and get it." Because it was the signal for me to remind me to lighten up. And sure enough, it works. We can tell you examples of that. It also works as a friendly thing. You can't be stuffy and pompous with a turtle on your head. It just doesn't work. So, on vacations, on time off, I love to wear the hat. And one of the other nice things is when I'm wearing it, people look at the hat. So it looks to me like they're looking right in my eyes, and I'm always ready to greet a stranger because I think it's a friend because they're looking me right in the eye. That's interesting and fun. In England, they do not do that. They're very reserved. But one time I was traveling in England, walking on a railway platform, as they call them, and my friend behind me was cracking up. He said, "The people are waiting till they pass you, and then they turn around and look, and then they laugh." So because they're very reserved, I was getting a different reaction there. I couldn't figure it out until he told me, and we enjoyed it after that. I had had this hat for 5 years or more, and I realized it was getting sweat stained and it was not looking its best anymore. And I began looking for another hat. Okay, I got it in 96. By 2001, I began looking. We had an internet then, and I would spend hours and hours looking online. Across the next 10 years, I only saw one picture of a hat just like this. It was the floating award being worn by the Volunteer of the Year in a turtle rescue mission in Costa Rica. So that wasn't helping me at all. Finally, after about 10 years of looking, when I'd had this hat, now not looking very healthy, for 16 years, I found another one on Etsy. It was in a vintage clothing shop. It was a one-off. It was in good shape, and I snapped it up, and I was over the moon. I was so happy. After 16 or 17 years, I had a replacement hat. The hat, which is so much fun, had gotten to where I was embarrassed to take it off and show it to people because it looked so grungy underneath, and I would get a negative reaction. They'd be all friendly, and then it looked so grungy. So I began wearing that hat. I've worn it at both of my daughter's weddings. But after 3 years or so, I realized this is getting salt stained and a little dingy too, and I began thinking I need another hat. It took me 16 years to find the first replacement. I'm not going to find another one in this lifetime. The company who made them is long out of business. I've been able to look because the new one still had a tag. The first one's tag was long gone before I looked for it. So I was working with contacts in the hat industry. I emailed my contacts and said, "Will you make me another hat?" They said, "Sure, you have to order 1,000. So I shelved that idea very promptly. That was not really a possibility, a $5,000 order. So about 6 months later, I began to hear about Kickstarter. My daughters are very tech savvy. We began to think maybe there's a possibility there, and they helped me work through some of the details. Because if I would buy $5,000 worth of hats and sell them, I could get new hats. Other people could have the fun. We could share the fun of this incredibly good hat. And that's what we're trying to do. Now, I have a couple of caveats I need to tell you about. Only some people can wear this hat. A certain kind of maturity or coolness is required because if you're walking down the street and a guy who's had 2 beers comes up and says, "Hey man, you have a turtle on your head," and you're reactive to that, it's not going to work for you. The hat is about being cool, being chilled out, and being friendly, and it works that way. If you have young children, I promise you, if you begin to use this as your chill out hat, they will cherish it after years, as mine do. My daughters, who are now married in their late 20s, say they cannot remember a time Dad did not have the hat. It's a fun hat. I hope you have fun with it. Sign up.